Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Winter and I'm glad you're here today. I don't usually post videos on Sunday, but I've just been moved to do this. So what prompted the video? Well, there is a person that I watch on YouTube that I've watched for probably, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years on and off. In her family, she had an adult child that had gotten cancer. And she would talk about the situation and you know, things that she was going through as her adult child was dealing with cancer. And so I would send her comments and say, you know, that I was praying for her son, and I could tell by watching her previous videos and whatnot that she was a New Ager and that she didn't believe in God. And she even wore a t-shirt or not a t-shirt, a sweatshirt several times during this period of time that her son was suffering with this cancer. I am enough would be written across her sweatshirt. So I would try to be gentle about it, but I'm a truth teller and I kind of shoot from the hip and I kind of say it like it is, you know. I just prayed this morning, make me more like you, Jesus, where I'm kinder and sweeter and nicer instead of just putting it out there, you know, the truth. This is the truth and blah, blah, blah. So I know she doesn't believe in God. And so I would just say, you know, in my comments to her, seek the Lord. He can help you with this. Seek the Lord. He can get you through this. Seek the Lord. You need the Lord in your life. You can't do this by yourself. Well, unfortunately, her son passed away approximately a year ago. Like all people who lose a loved one, and a child especially, grief is a monster all unto itself. And it can come at you in waves. You know, you think that you're making progress, and then you will smell something that reminds you of that person, or you'll see somebody walking down the street that looks exactly like the person that you lost, and it will send you into just tears and just waves of grief that you don't think you can come out of. And I speak from experience. I have lost a lot of people in my life, and there has been a lot of grief in my life. First person that I lost in my life was my 4-year-old niece. She was severely, severely, severely beaten by a stepdad, and she died from that interaction. And I grieved for her for a long time. And then the next the first grieving moment for me was before my niece, and that was my 2-year-old daughter. And that grief was because I was told I would not ever be able to see her again, and she lived in a different state than I did. You can learn more about it by watching my testimony video that I did yesterday. I'll link it below. I grieved hard for her because I really truly believed I would never see her again. And that grief lasted a long time. Well, then the ultimate grief was when my husband, who was the love of my life, who was everything to me, and my son, they were killed in a car accident. And the grief that I felt from that loss was way beyond what I could stand. I just was lost. And I grieved for them way longer than I should have grieved for them. And it would come in waves, and it would last for a while, and I would cry for days, and then I'd be okay for a week, and then something would come up and I would be right back in the pit again. Well, I wasn't relying on God when this all took place. I believed in God, and I actually had been praying to God before they died, take this oppressive death thing off of me, because I was just obsessed with death before they died. And I didn't know what was going on. So I was praying to the Lord, but I wasn't seeking the Lord to come in and be my everything. You know, my husband was my everything, and I didn't see God as my everything at that time in my life. Well, I continued to grieve until I moved into this trailer. I never thought that I would ever be who I was before they died, which was a person who was happy most of the time now, not joy-filled, but happy most of the time, loving my life with my husband, And I just never thought that I would ever have a peace in my heart again. I just never thought I would ever be whole again in my entire life. But God has a way of changing all of that when we decide that we cannot do it ourselves. And that's what I want to speak to. People who seek New Age practices like this woman does, they're teaching you to look for all of your strength within you, that you already have all this strength within you. You just need to tap it. Well, as I'm watching this woman today crumbling on camera over what her grief is doing to her right now, and she is talking about, just like anybody who grieves, I thought I was over it. Well, you're never over it until you actually deal with giving it up to the Lord. And I was watching her and I was like, it just breaks my heart. It's breaking my heart. It's breaking my heart watching this woman grieving for her son and having no place to land to get help, because she's relying on her inner self to get this help. Well, her inner self is failing her because her inner self is broken. There is nothing within her that can bring her out of this or heal it. So that's why I wanted to come on here today. I want to read some scriptures that are going to back up what I'm saying. The first one is Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in Adonai with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. That's not empty words. That's the absolute truth. I am completely and totally healed from the deaths of my son and my husband. I never even think about them other than a passing thought now and again, but it's a thought that's filled with love. There's no sadness, there's no pain, there's no I wish I could see them again. I wish they could be back here. No, not even a little bit. And I know that if they were still alive, I wouldn't be where I am in my relationship with God, because I would still be living in the pattern that we were living in when we were married. And that was very, very, very far away from God. How do I put this? Am I glad that they died? Absolutely not. No, I am not glad that they died. If it could have been different and they had stayed alive, I would pray that I would have gotten led to the Lord anyway. But that is not what happened. We can't, there's something else I want to talk about too. The what ifs in life. You know, what if this would have happened? What if that would have happened? Those two words are so dangerous. Those are probably one of Satan's best statements to come out of somebody's mouth, is the what if statement. Because you're questioning the reality of what your life is. And your what ifs are not going to change anything. My what ifs are not going to change the fact that my husband got into a car at 10 o'clock in the morning and drove away from me, and I was never going to see him again. Nothing can change that, okay? I can either wallow in self-pity and be miserable for the rest of my life, grieving for him, or I can seek the Lord, which is what I did. And to my miraculous surprise, he healed it. He healed the grief. Healed it. All right, let's look at Jeremiah 17:5. I hope I know someone needed to hear this today. I don't know who it is, but someone needed to hear this today. Thus says Adonai, cursed is the one who trusts in man. Cursed is the one who trusts in man. So if you are trusting in yourself only, you're cursed by God and depends on flesh as his arm, and whose heart turns from Adonai. Let me read that again. Thus says Adonai, cursed is the one who trusts in man and depends on flesh as his arm, and whose heart turns from Adonai. For he will be like a bush in the desert. He cannot see goodness when it comes, but will dwell in parched places in the wilderness, a salt land where no one lives. That is where this woman is living. She is living in a wasteland right now of grief. Of grief. There is no goodness. She can't see past the grief to any goodness. This was me too. Like a bush in the desert. I felt completely like that. Because everybody else, when somebody dies in your household, everybody comes and they bring the grief buffet and they send the flowers that stink to high heaven. And, they come to the funeral and they do this and that. And then guess what happens? They go home and get on with their lives because they're not really truly affected by what has happened to you. It didn't happen to them. It happened to you. And you're stuck in your grief. You're stuck in your loss. You are stuck. And who are you going to turn to? You can go to your pastor and you can talk to your pastor, but unless you're in the Word of God, unless you're on your knees praying, unless you are begging the Lord to come in and help you, help me with my grief, Lord. Heal me from my grief, Lord. I know you can do it, Lord. I know you can. You're my God who says I need to depend on you for everything. Well, right now I need you more than I've ever needed you in my life because I just lost a loved one. And if you think God doesn't know what that feels like, look to his son who died on the cross. You think that wasn't killing God in his heart to have to watch his son die in the tormented death that he died for people who didn't even care about his son and what his son was doing for them? Okay. Psalm 37. I'm passionate about the Lord because I lived way too many years not following what the Lord wanted me to do. And all it did was make my life miserable. I was a miserable, wretched human being. Psalm 37. Psalm 37, 39 and 40. Yet the salvation of the righteous is from Adonai. He is their stronghold in time of trouble. He is my stronghold in time of trouble. He can be her stronghold in her time of trouble. And right now she's in trouble. She's in trouble. She doesn't know how she's ever going to climb out of this. Adonai helps them and delivers them. He rescues them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in him. We need to give our entire being to God if we want to live any kind of a life that has any peace in it at all. Because every day something is coming at you, whether it be at your job, be friends that are, saying things against you that you don't, whatever it could be, gossipers, family members, whatever it could be. No one is walking around with just not a problem in the world. Everybody has problems. Everybody does. But those problems can be greatly minimized down to nothing if you want the truth of it. Can I give you the truth? You don't have to have any problems at all if you give everything to the Lord. You don't have to have them because he wants the problem. He wants you to hand him the problem because why? He can deal with it. He's got a plan for that. And grief is a big one. Psalms 55:22. Cast your burden on Adonai, and he will sustain you. What I just said. Isn't that what I just said? I didn't expect it to be this verse. That's the Lord speaking through me. He will never let the righteous be shaken. That's exactly what I just said. If we give him every problem that we have, we can just sit back and relax and let him deal with it, because he will. If you have somebody that you want to take, revenge out on because they said something nasty about you, hand that to the Lord. Hand it to the Lord. Give it to God. He'll deal with it. He actually will deal with it. And then guess what? You don't have to feel like an idiot or feel guilty or feel all the things that you're going to feel if you go after that person and take revenge out on them. Right? Right? You give it to the Lord. Let the Lord handle it. And if you're grieving, you give it to the Lord. You lay it at his feet. I'm telling you, I'm serious about this. I had no idea at all. Wasn't looking for it, wasn't planning on it, had no idea at all that when I moved into this trailer and I became this chained down individual that God says, you're not going anywhere. You and I are going to have a little discussion here. We're going to get to know each other. And I'm going to show you who I really am to you, because I got plans for your life. I had no idea, not even a little bit, that I would be healed from anything. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't asking for it. It was not something that was even on my radar that could even happen. But yet here I sit, completely healed from every horrible, disgusting, evil thing that has ever been done to me. I am completely healed from the loss of the love of my life and my son. I am completely healed. Completely healed. I really want to get this across to you. It is the only way that it can happen is through our Maker, through God. He is the only one that can do this. He has to be your everything. My husband being my everything sure didn't heal me from his death. Relying on myself, which I was doing, I wasn't a new ager, but I was relying on me and not my God to heal this, which I never thought would be healed, okay? So I was defeating myself in the first place because I never thought I could heal from this grief. There's no way. I'm going to have to live with this the rest of my life. And I see so many people in her comments that talk about how they are, one comment today under her video was 23 years of grieving. No, you don't have to do that. And if you think you're betraying your dead relative because you don't grieve for them anymore, no, you're not betraying anybody. They don't know that you're grieving. They are where they are, and they do not know that you are grieving. So you continuing to grieve out of guilt because they're gone, or afraid that, something horrible will happen to you if you don't continue to grieve these people after they're gone. That's all from Satan. That is all from the evil one, Satan. Okay, one more verse. Psalm 56, verse 3 and 4. My foes trample me all day, for many are fighting me arrogantly. In a day when I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. In God I keep praising his word. In God I trust. I will not fear what can mere flesh do to me. I just pray that this girl, that this young woman who lost her son is going to finally come to a place where she has got to reach out for the Lord. Because that's the only way. It's the only way she will ever know peace. It's the only way she will ever know joy. And her children, who are survivors of their brother's death, they need the Lord just as much as she does. So I hope that this reached somebody today. I hope that it was a word for someone that needed to hear it. But no matter what it is that you are going through, I am enough. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. And you're fooling yourself if you think you are. In fact, I have a shirt that I sell on my spread shop. It says, I am nothing without Jesus. And then below it, it says, I am enough with a big red X through it. I'll put a picture of it up here on my channel, on my video right here. Because that's the absolute truth. We are nothing without God. We can't do anything without God. We may think we can. We may think we're all that in a bag of chips. You know, oh, I can get through this life without the Lord. No, you can't. You may get through this life without the Lord, but you're getting through this life in a way that is miserable, unfulfilling, unhappy, guilt-ridden, shame-ridden, and really, frankly, no peace or joy in your life. And I know that to be true. I know that to be true. If you do not have God in your life, you do not have a peace in your life that surpasses all understanding. If you do not have God in your life, you have no joy in your life. You may have happiness, but you don't have any joy. And there is a big, huge difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is conditional. Happiness can flit and be gone in a heartbeat if somebody says something wrong to you that day. You can take your happiness and shove it right down in the toilet. Joy comes in the morning and it stays all day. It stays all day. No matter what is being thrown at you, when you live within God, under his wings, under his feathers, he's your fortress, he's your stronghold, that joy stays, that joy remains, and things can be falling down all around you. All around you. And here you stand in joy. And people look at you and go, what does that person have that I don't? Why is that person so at peace and everything is falling down around them? You've got to know that you've known people like this in your life. You've got to know that you've seen people like this in your life. I've seen them in my life where I was stunned by their peace and their joy in the midst of something that should have been a crumbling thing to their psyches. But no. Okay, I have talked long enough. I love you all very much. I really, really, truly do. Don't rely on yourself for anything. All you're doing is hurting yourself by doing it. Just turn to God. Turn to God. Please turn to God before it's too late. You could die today. You could literally die today. And if you don't have Jesus as your Savior, you're in hell. You're in hell. So I'll end on that note. How about that? All right, everybody. I will see you Monday for scripture writing. Have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you for watching.